wherever you may be. Again, a little homage to the late, great Bill Schonely, voice of the Trailblazers, coining of Rip City, and among a lot of other things. That's how we like to open it up. I am Doug Zanger, Executive Director of Think Northwest. Thank you so much for joining us. We got some stuff coming up. In this music, by the way, courtesy of Track Club. That is from Marmoset, based in Portland. You want good music? You want to, Marmoset's the way to go. Keep it Pacific Northwest, trackclub.com. It's a easy to use interface. Lots of great cuts. Will help your brand, help your agency. We like to support our Pacific Northwest folks. We are very excited about 2024. And in years past, we have honored some of the great marketing minds through our Think Northwest Marketing All-Stars program. And this is in our third year, and we announced the winners at the end of the year. But this time around, we decided to give this thing a little bit more of a long tail. So instead of getting all the profiles and all of the interviews in one place at one time, we wanted to give the stage to all of our winners each week. Now, I want to bring in our friend and Think Northwest board member, Britt Fero. Your agency has been, you've won. I think you've won. You've won.
I have.
Yeah, you won.
Yes, I'm a winner.
You are a winner in more ways than one. But Britt up in Seattle, great agency, PBN. And the thing that's been a little bit different this time around for us is that we changed up the categories a little bit. So as you can see, you can go to thinknw.org. You can go see the class here. We have individual honors. And as we scroll down, we honored Claudine Cheever. Her profile was a couple of weeks ago. Allie Daniels, who is your client leader of the year. Visit Seattle. Jamie, who we're going to talk to here in a second. And then we have team honors. So our friends at Alaska Airlines, Expedia, Jordan, Mode at Amazon, Starch Creative Tillamook. That was posted yesterday. And then also, Jamie is from Boise. We also had Drake Cooper for brand marketing campaign of the year. So really great stuff. And the thing about it too is it's so great to be able to bring Boise into the mix. And there she is, Jamie.
Hello.
Holy cow. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Well, and here's the thing about Stoltz. So number one, Boise's awesome. A lot of changes, just like any place. But I've always loved Boise. I got to work on Tamarack one year back in the early days. But here's the thing about the buzz of the agency and brand community in Boise. Like, you hear about it. And I've known about Stoltz for a long time. And I've also known about Stoltz through Worldwide Partners and other organizations. But it's such a cool community. Talk a little bit about like just so many good agencies and so many good brands and so many creative people there. Talk about how the market is growing and changing.
Yeah. Boise has obviously changed a huge amount, especially since the pandemic. Just the influx of people has been pretty crazy. So it's changed a lot. And I think the creative landscape has changed along with it. Stoltz has been around. We're in our 27th year of business. Same with Drake Cooper. I think they've been around quite a bit longer than that even. So we've been around for a long time. So we've seen kind of some of the agencies come and go for sure. But there's still a lot of legacy agencies there, but we've seen a ton of smaller, more specialized agencies pop up in the last couple of years too. So just grown a lot.
No, it's great. And Drake Cooper, now a Think Northwest member, Russ Stoddard, Think Northwest member, Michelle McSorley from EM. Oh, I always get the name of her company mixed up. Michelle McSorley. Let's just leave it at that. Right. Now, Britt, being in Seattle, you have some experience with the Boise market. And what's, and here's like the million things I love about Jamie is this agency does not back down. And I think that's one of the things that really stood out to me is that, you know, Britt, you're the same, you're cut of the same cloth where you're going to take a stand and you're not going to back down and you're going to do what's right. And, you know, Stoltz has been doing that forever. And especially in the past couple of years, and it starts with the leadership. So Britt, I want to start with you on this. Why is it important as an agency leader to stand up the way to, you know, stand up for issues, to stand up for rights, to stand up for the things that matter to people?
Well, your job is to connect with people, right?
Yeah.
And so if you don't understand them, you're not going to do very well at your job. But I also think agencies are the outside voice sometimes for clients to help them be more aware of what's happening in culture, what's happening with people, and how that actually affects them. Because sometimes it's easy to look at an issue or a group of people and say, they're not our core customers, doesn't matter, right? Well, it will in some way, shape, or form. And I think agencies bring good perspective in doing that. And as an agency leader, I also think, you know, your people are your greatest asset. And so as a leader, you need to set a tone within your company that those are issues and things that are important to you, and allow people to bring their whole self to work and allow space to have an honest conversation about things that are happening and what that means.
Yeah. And Jaime, there are just some issues politically in Idaho. You just wouldn't back down. And I loved that you put the agency and its talent in front of that. So talk about a few of the things that you addressed over the past year.
Yeah, I think the biggest one and probably the most relevant right now is after Roe v. Wade was overturned, Idaho was one of the first states in the nation to go to a total abortion ban. And so we stood up pretty immediately and talked about what we were doing for our own employees during that situation, which was making sure that we're offering reimbursement for any employees that need to leave the state to get reproductive health care. So that was kind of one of the first things that we did just for our own team. And then beyond that, we've just been really vocal on our own channels in terms of how we feel about it. And again, not only is that important to me, but it's also incredibly important to our employees. So that's been really important. And then most recently, it's been pretty neat to be able to see this one come to life. But we were approached last summer by a coalition of health care organizations in Idaho that wanted us to get some messaging out around how the total abortion ban was actually affecting people that want to be parents in Idaho. So people that are having complications early in pregnancy that aren't able to access the abortions that they actually need just to maintain their own health. And so we've been able to launch a campaign in the last 3 months that has just been super meaningful to our team. I think it's a really powerful campaign. And so it's been neat to be able to actually do something about it.
Yeah. And you know, we'll have a recap on this and we'll be sure to add the campaign there.
Yeah.
How would you define your leadership style? What would you say, you know, let me reframe it. What do you think your leadership style is? And what do you think other people say your leadership style is?
Oh, that's a good question. I think the two would probably match pretty evenly. I feel like I'm fairly self-aware, but I would say I don't think I'm the typical archetype for a CEO. I'm, fairly introverted. I think I'm a quiet leader. I probably a democratic leader. I do like to build consensus, but I also do know when to make a decision and how to make a decision.
Right.
So for me, I've been really intentional and really thoughtful around building a leadership team around me that I think is complementary to me. And so, again, over the last couple of years, built just such a strong leadership team, and we're all different, but again, all complementary. And I think it makes us really strong.
Yeah. Yeah. Britt, you and I have talked about this a lot. The impact that the Pacific Northwest has on work. Now, Britt, you have some very strong opinions about
everything.
About everything. I know, right? Actually, yeah. When we come to Boise, Britt, I think I might have to see about getting you that Alaska gift card to fly you over, because I think you and Jaime would get along splendidly. But the Pacific Northwest is unique. And I think as it relates to being a leader, how the Pacific Northwest informs the work, but also the leadership. So Britt, you've been here a while. How does it impact you? How does the Pacific Northwest, what impact does it have on your work and your point of view?
I think this is a really creative culture, and one where people, it's a culture that asks why a lot. And that feeds me personally, but I also think it feeds just the innovation of the region. I think it's not an advertising mecca, right? It's not a New York where advertising has deep storied roots necessarily, or even a Chicago in that way, but it has really deep roots of innovation. And I think that comes from thinking differently. And so I think you get a lot of talent that doesn't want to just do it the same old way. And I think that's been exciting for me as a leader in cultivating talent, but also just me as a professional to be able to think that way. And I think it's actually bred a community where there's a lot of women-owned businesses, frankly. And there's a lot of people that are supportive of that and want to work with other women leaders. And so that's been kind of an exciting piece for me. I mean, Jaime, I don't know how you feel about that. It's not like I went into business like I'm going to be a woman leader and I'm going to do this, but there is a sense of pride that comes from that. Yeah. And I do see tides shifting towards more agencies that have females at the top, more businesses that have females at the top. And I think this is just a part of the country that's probably a little more energized around that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. And I think what we always say is, as women leaders, we have an opportunity to do business differently. I think we think differently. And so we try to, shape policies around our people and around, respecting their lives outside of work, and what does that whole person look like and what do they care about? So again, I think it's an opportunity to do things differently.
Yeah, no, I love that. Britt, just keep asking questions. It's more interesting when you ask questions.
Oh, always. I would love to know though, how do you guys, what do you value in being the leader of a company, and kind of what's motivating you right now in that role? And then what's the biggest challenge you're facing too?
Yeah, I think it kind of aligns with what I was just talking about in terms of getting to change the way business is done. To me, that's the most rewarding part of my job, is getting to create policies that benefit our employees. And it's also a really big motivator behind growth. I want to be able to grow and continue to offer more and better to my employees. And so I think that's one of the things I'm most proud of over the last few years, is being able to do some policies that actually weren't available to me at other companies. So paid parental leave, which, as an employee of Nestle 10 years ago, I didn't have access to that. And so, we're small, we're independent, woman owned, we get to do whatever we want as long as it makes sense for the business. And so that's what excites me about being able to run a business. And then challenges, I think, it's probably the same as everyone, but it's really navigating, the changing economy, the changing political landscape. Kind of all of that is trying to maintain what we're doing within all of that turbulence. And I think we've been doing a good job, but it's always just trying to figure out what's next and how are we preparing so that we're ready for whatever's coming, because it's been a wild 3 years.
Yeah. And what's interesting about Boise to me is there's potentially an analog with Salt Lake City. Mm-hmm. Where it's, Boise is progressive and it's got just, it's bursting with creativity, and same with Salt Lake and equality. Have you looked at a place like Salt Lake? I mean, Austin's the same, right? So in Texas. So are you looking at some of those other markets and saying, yeah, this is similar, this tracks, or we do this the Boise way?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think you're totally right. Boise is unique, but it is very similar in that we are kind of a thriving, more liberal part of Idaho, which is a very, very conservative state. And I think some of the things we were talking about earlier with the political forces at hand in Idaho, that's one of my concerns, is being able to attract talent into a state that is not attracting a lot of young talent right now. So I think we've been fairly insulated from that with Boise, but it's definitely on my radar.
Right.
Can
Okay.
I add a question onto that? Like,
Of course.
Boise's just changed so much in even the past 5 years, let alone 10 years. How has that changed kind of the company culture? How has that changed the way you view creativity in that, like, for good or for bad, the changes to the city? How have you been impacted by that?
That's a good question. I mean, I think some of the big things are like cost of living used to be something that we could recruit people on. Can't do that anymore. We're now like we've gone from one of the lowest to one of the highest in the country. So things like that, like practical things like that have shifted. So I think attracting talent has become harder, but I also think the things I've been talking about, like all of the policies and the fact that we've been vocal on certain things, I think we have not had a hard time getting talent in general, but I just think as a whole, our creative community certainly is struggling with that.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it's necessarily shifted culture. We've been really intentional in terms of trying to maintain like an in-person culture, which I know is a lot of people are shifting away from that. But I think for us, it's become really important to just maintain that kind of in-person culture. So we actually don't have any fully remote employees right now. We're hybrid in terms of people being able to work where they want, but everyone here is from and lives in Boise.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Do you want to give a speech? I'm kidding. Oh, I'm not prepared. But who do you want to seriously though, who do you want to thank? Who do you want to thank at the agency?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, I couldn't do any of this without my team, of course. And I talked about my leadership team earlier, but they are truly like what allows me to be able to do this. They've also, been the driving force behind all of the, the social issues that I've been talking about that we talk about. That's my leadership team really driving that and encouraging me to be more comfortable with that. And so, it's my leadership team. It's the entire team. We just have like the most amazing people on the team. And so they really make my job like such a joy every day.
I love it. And who are some of your clients you want to say hello to?
Yeah, well, it's funny that you talked about Tamarack earlier. We're going to have to talk about that later because we've been working with them for the last year.
Yeah, so fun.
Yeah, it's such a fun.
I went with Maggie. Oh, here's my famous Boise story. I did the zip line with Maggie O'Mara, the TV anchor in Boise. She's fantastic.
She is, yes, yeah, and she's been around for a long time. She's great.
Yeah, and she had. I think it was like she said, I just moved here not too long ago.
Yeah.
And so here we are from, I think it was 07 or 08.
Yeah, I believe
that sounds about right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so Tamarack. Now, please continue. Thank other clients.
Every client. I don't think I can.
Yeah.
But we do a lot of great work with Valley Regional Transit or transit system. And so when we talk about Boise growing, like they're integral to Boise's success. We have a lot of clients in healthcare, so Primary Health, Mountain View Hospital. So I would say I think purpose-driven is overused, but I would say when you look at most of our clients, I think we can tie them back to kind of doing good for the community and for the world in general. So we're really lucky with our clients.
I love that. Well, Jaime, we will see you in Boise soon.
Yes, can't wait.
Congratulations. As we were going through, nominees and we were going through the ecosystem, I just kept going back and we all kept going back to, she's taking a stand. She's taking a stand. Like she's just like, it's amazing. So kudos to you for being such a great leader. Kudos for leading such a great agency and being such an important anchor in Boise and in the Pacific Northwest on behalf of all of us, including our board members, including Britt Fero. Congratulations of this honor. We will post this up a little bit later. I'll have you both hang out backstage. Okay. But Jaime, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much.
Super psyched for you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
And thank you to all of you for joining us today. For those of you who are members, thank you for your support of Think Northwest. To learn more, go to ThinkNW.org. You can reach out to me directly at Zanger, Zanger, at ThinkNW.org. On behalf of everybody, including our amazing board, thank you so much for joining us. And we'll see you next time.